There is a product on the shelf at Coles or Woolworths right now that is marketed specifically at the most vulnerable consumers in any household. Not adults making informed choices about their own health, babies and toddlers in the first years of life, when nutrition is not simply a matter of preference, but of development, growth, and the foundations of long-term health. The baby and toddler food aisle in an Australian supermarket is one of the most heavily marketed spaces in retail. It is also one of the least regulated. Every package carries claims: organic, natural, no added sugar, fruit and vegetables, developmental support. These are words that work precisely because parents are not approaching the shelf casually. They are approaching it with the weight of responsibility that comes with feeding a child who cannot advocate for themselves. And that is exactly the context in which the gap between what the packaging communicates and what the product actually delivers becomes most important to understand. This investigation examined 5 of the most widely sold baby and toddler products available at Australian supermarkets right now. What it found was not a story about a single rogue product. It was a story about a category operating in a regulatory environment that has not kept pace with the marketing sophistication of the companies selling into it, and about specific products where the information available to parents falls significantly short of what those parents would want and need to make genuinely informed decisions for their children. The first product is Alula Gold Reflux, an Alula Colic and Constipation infant formula, manufactured by Sanilac Nutritionals Australia. These 2 products were available for sale at Coles, Woolworths, Chemist Warehouse, IGA, Big W, Costco and Amazon across Australia for a significant period before a voluntary recall was issued in January 2026. The basis for the recall was toxin contamination. Specifically, Food Standards Australia New Zealand confirmed that the products were potentially contaminated with cereulide, a toxin produced by the Bacillus cereus microorganism. Cereulide is heat-stable, meaning it is not destroyed by normal food preparation methods, including boiling. Symptoms of exposure can include nausea, vomiting, and abdominal cramping. In an infant, those symptoms carry risks that are considerably more serious than they would be in an adult. The recall applied to products with specific use-by dates and batch codes, and parents were advised to stop using the affected products immediately. The recall came in the context of broader international attention on cereulide contamination in infant formula products, following Nestlé's withdrawal of related products from European markets. What this recall illustrates most directly is a question that sits behind the entire category. How does a product sold specifically to parents for the most critical nutritional period of their child's life reach supermarket shelves and pharmacy counters nationally, remain available for an extended period, and then exit the market through a quiet voluntary recall that most of the parents who purchased those products never saw? The mechanism for product safety in this category depends on companies self-reporting and self-acting. There is no routine, independent testing of commercially available infant formula at the shelf level in Australia. What parents assume when they buy a product in this category, and what the regulatory framework actually guarantees, are not the same thing. The second product is Heinz Nurture Baby Meals, in jar format. These ready-to-eat savory meal jars have been a fixture in the Australian baby food category for decades, and they carry the kind of brand recognition that functions as a trust signal for parents making quick decisions in a supermarket aisle. In 2024, researchers publishing in Maternal and Child Nutrition conducted an evaluation of commercially produced infant and toddler foods sold in Australian supermarkets and assessed them against WHA nutritional standards. The findings were significant. None of the infant and toddler food products examined in that research met WHA standards. The specific concern with savory meal products like the Heinz Nurture range relates to a consistent pattern documented across the category. Product names and front-of-pack imagery that emphasize meat, iron-rich ingredients, or nutritionally valuable components, while the actual ingredient list reveals those components present in small quantities, with water, fruit puree, or vegetable paste forming the majority of the product by weight. A 2025 study examining 210 commercial infant and toddler food products found that in more than half of savory meals, the product name did not accurately reflect the main ingredients, Meats or nutrient-dense ingredients, such as legumes, were often highlighted in the name, while present only in minor amounts. The practical consequence for parents is that a product positioned as a developmental meal, providing meaningful protein or iron, may be delivering significantly less of those nutrients than the name and packaging communicate. There is no mandatory requirement in Australia for the front-of-pack presentation of baby food products to accurately reflect ingredient proportions. The name can feature the ingredient most appealing to parents, regardless of how much of it is actually inside. The third product is Rafferty's Garden Fruit and Veggie Pouches. This is one of the most widely sold baby food product lines in Australia, available across all major supermarket chains, and positioned directly at parents of children beginning the transition to solid foods. The pouches carry vivid imagery of whole fruits and vegetables on the front of the pack. The product names reference specific fruits and vegetables in ways that communicate freshness, variety, and wholesome nutrition. The same research that examined commercial infant and toddler foods in Australian supermarkets found that across the category, 60% of products featured images of fruit and 40% displayed images of vegetables, but the majority did not contain any whole fruits or vegetables. Snack foods featuring vegetable imagery often contained only trace amounts of vegetable juice or powder. Products featuring fruit images typically contained processed fruit sugars in the form of pastes and concentrates rather than whole fruit. 1 in 5 products contained less than 5% fruit, despite displaying fruit prominently on the packaging. The front-of-pack visual language creates what researchers have consistently described as a health halo effect, in which parents perceive a product as nutritionally appropriate based on packaging cues that are not required to accurately represent the composition of what is inside. FSANZ is currently reviewing regulations around claims and names used on commercial infant and toddler foods, with potential regulatory changes under consideration. The review itself acknowledges that the current framework is insufficient to prevent misleading communication in this category. The fourth product is Caracare Stage 3 Toddler Milk, part of the Nestlé formula range, and available at Coles, Woolworths, and Chemist Warehouse. Toddler milks are a distinct product category that did not exist in Australian supermarkets a generation ago. They are marketed for children aged 1 to 3 years and positioned on packaging and in advertising as a nutritional support product for toddlers, making the transition away from infant formula. The Australian Dietary Guidelines, the World Health Organization, and the position statements of dietitians associations in Australia are consistent on this product category. Toddler milks are not recommended. Full-fat cow's milk is nutritionally appropriate for children over 12 months, and the addition of a commercial toddler milk product to a child's diet provides no established benefit over a diet that includes cow's milk and a varied range of age-appropriate foods. Research that audited toddler food and milk products available in Australian supermarkets found that all 32 toddler milks examined contained higher energy, carbohydrate, and total sugar levels per 100 milliliters than full-fat cow's milk. The products exist in a specific regulatory gap. They fall under FSANZ Standard 2.9, 3 for formulated supplementary foods for young children. But the standard was not designed to govern products being marketed as formula-adjacent nutritional supplements for a population that nutritional guidance says does not need them. The marketing of these products, which features developmental claims and language closely resembling infant formula, is not subject to the same restrictions that apply to products marketed for infants under 12 months. Parents purchasing toddler milk in the belief that it provides something cow's milk cannot are responding to a marketing framework that health authorities have repeatedly described as operating without adequate regulatory constraint. The fifth product is Bellamy's Organic Fruit and Vegetable Snacks range, the baby and toddler snack line sold under the Bellamy's brand at Coles, Woolworths, and Chemist Warehouse. Bellamy's is an Australian brand with significant heritage in the organic baby food space. It was founded in Tasmania in 2004 and built its reputation on clean ingredient lists and organic certification. The organic certification carried by Bellamy's products is genuinely regulated, verified by the National Association for Sustainable Agriculture Australia, and represents a meaningful commitment to production standards. The question raised by independent research does not concern the integrity of the organic certification. It concerns what the category as a whole, including premium organic snack products, is actually delivering nutritionally to the toddlers consuming it. The George Institute for Global Health study examining commercially produced infant and toddler foods in Australian supermarkets found that 83% of toddler foods available in the retail environment were sweet, ultra-processed snack foods that did not align with the Australian dietary guidelines. The study found that none of the products examined met WHO standards for commercial foods for infants and young children. The concern with Bellamy's fruit snack products specifically relates to the interaction between the organic premium, the front-of-pack claims, and the actual nutritional profile. Products carrying no added sugar claims achieve their sweetness through dried organic fruit and vegetable powders and concentrates. The natural sugar content of these ingredients is not added sugar in the technical regulatory sense. But for a toddler learning taste preferences during the period when food habits are being established for life, the distinction between added sugar and naturally concentrated fruit sugar is not nutritionally meaningful in terms of the sweetness signal being delivered. The premium price, the organic branding, and the developmental language on these packages communicate a level of nutritional endorsement that the independent research on the category does not consistently support. What connects these 5 products is a version of the same problem appearing in different forms across the category. It is not that every product here is directly or immediately so. It is that parents purchasing products for their children in this category are operating with incomplete information in an environment specifically designed to create the impression of thoroughness and care. A recall mechanism that depends on companies identifying and disclosing their own contamination issues. Product names that are not required to reflect ingredient proportions. Front-of-pack imagery of fruits and vegetables that can appear regardless of how little whole fruit or vegetable the product contains. A toddler milk category that health authorities consider unnecessary, but that is marketed using language those same authorities associate with essential early nutrition. And a premium organic snack segment, where the certification addresses production method, but independent nutritional assessment of the category consistently identifies a gap between the healthfulness the packaging implies and the dietary guidance, recommending against normalizing sweetened commercial snack foods in the first years of life. The first 1,000 days of a child's life are when nutrition has its most lasting consequences. Understanding what the label actually means, what it is required to tell you, and what it is under no obligation to disclose, is not a minor consideration in this context. It is the most important consumer literacy question. Australian parents of young children are currently not being given adequate tools to answer.